As the war in Ukraine continues to dominate media headlines, abuses in other countries, including China, continue. According to human rights groups, over 1 million Uyghurs have been detained against their will in China's Xinjiang region. Multiple news organizations have reported a large network of detention camps that China refers to as re-education camps, where detainees are subject to unspeakable abuses. Forum Daily has conducted numerous interviews on the Uyghur genocide with first-hand testimony of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse in these detention camps. World leaders have increased efforts to hold China accountable for what human rights organizations say are crimes against humanity. But has this made any impact on the abuses that have been occurring in the country for years? Well, joining us now to give us more insight into the ongoing human rights abuses in China is Ms. Yaqiu Wang, senior China researcher at Human Rights Watch. Ma'am, welcome to Forum Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we know abuses against China's Uyghur population and other minority groups have been brought to the world stage. We know Human Rights Watch has played a key role in this. So where are we now when it comes to the Uyghur genocide? Has there been any impact from this advocacy?
Well, first of all, we don't know much what's going on inside Xinjiang because the government doesn't allow independent journalists going to the region to investigate. And of course, everybody in the region is scared to death to talk about what happened to them. And, WhatsApp, Facebook, and a lot of international social media is blocked in Xinjiang. And if you dare to install WhatsApp in your phone, you can get years in jail. So we don't know much. That being said, there have been, satellite image evidences of people being transferred from those so-called re-education camps into formal prisons, and some are forced into go to factories to be forced labor. So I don't think, the situation has changed much, but there's some commotions.
It's unfortunate to hear that the situation hasn't really changed. Now, in terms of the media attention on the war in Ukraine, how do you see this impacting international efforts to hold China accountable for these human rights abuses?
I think there are two folds. One is that the Russia's invasion of Ukraine really made people realize you should not appease dictators because Europe was appeasing Putin, and this could happen to China too, especially in the context of Taiwan. So I think people are waking up to the fact that you should not make deals with dictators. But on the other hand, it's unfortunate to see that because Europe and the US are so occupied with the Ukraine war. I mean, well, they have the attention, the resources to counter China. You can see that especially Europe is quite distracted.
Definitely. Now, in terms of other human rights abuses occurring in China, we know your research looks into freedom of expression, internet censorship, and video surveillance, which continue to be ongoing issues in the country. Can you give us more insight into this?
Well, in terms of internet censorship, I would say, China has the most sophisticated internet censorship in the country. It's not that all these apps we enjoy here in the US, like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, are censored in China. It's also that China has its own versions of Twitter, Facebook, everything. So people inside the country doesn't feel that they don't have internet freedom because they have everything. As long as you don't talk about politics, you enjoy the same kind of entertainment, maybe better than we enjoy in the US or in Canada. This is one thing. The other is the surveillance. Well, I would say, China probably has the best surveillance in the world. Everybody is subject to pervasive surveillance. There are numerous cameras all over the country. The worst situation is in Xinjiang. Then the government is, at the forefront of facial recognition, and not to mention, you have to use your real name for everything in the country. We can register account using a Gmail that is not attached to our real identity. This is impossible in China.
You can only imagine how difficult this could make for people to stand up against some of these human rights abuses in the country. Now, what does holding China accountable look like for you, and how big of an impact could this make? Is holding the country accountable enough?
Well, because let's talk about the first step, holding the country accountable. And I think it's very hard given how powerful China is. But I feel we're closer to that than, let's say, in a year ago. The UN. Let's say China has tremendous influence in the UN, but in August, the UN published a report says the crimes happening in Xinjiang could amount to crimes against humanity. That's a big thing in given the context of uh, how China would say, manipulate the human rights mechanism in the UN. So, we're still far away from holding the CCP accountable, but we're closer than ever.